Welcome to The Planted and the Poured, a space for real conversations about life as it is while we're becoming who we were created to be. As we continue growing this little metaphorical garden together, I wanted to share a little bit about what you can expect from this podcast. My hope is that I can show up for you twice a week in the summer on Mondays and Thursdays, and then continue with weekly episodes on Mondays during the school year, just because it gets very crazy. Each week, my goal is to bring you a balance of encouragement and practical tools because I don't want us to just be inspired by good ideas. I want us to have real conversations and then walk away with things that we can actually put into practice. So some episodes will be more about the heart, the bigger questions we're asking, the seasons we're walking through, very similar to the first 3 episodes. Other episodes, like today's, will be a little bit more practical, talking about things like building routines and creating a peaceful home and taking care of ourselves and things like that. With that being said, can I ask you a question? What are you running on these days? Is it coffee? Adrenaline? Are we like Bon Jovi and living on a prayer? Do you have a never-ending to-do list? Maybe you're running on the hope that next week will somehow just slow down a little bit. I've realized that sometimes when life gets busy, the first things that go out the window are usually the exact things that keep me feeling good. A lot of times we spend so much of our lives pouring into other people, kids, a spouse, a job, and somewhere along the way, we start treating ourselves like we are the only thing in the world that does not need tending to. If you had a plant that you didn't water for about a week, you wouldn't be mad at it for turning a little brown and looking a little droopy. You would water it. So why is it that we get so frustrated with ourselves when we don't live in a way that we want to because we've been running on empty? I had a principal who said something to me that I tried to repeat to myself. Anytime he did something that either made my job easier or offered me another opportunity, I would thank him and he would say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just watering the flowers." He saw me as a flower. It wasn't a problem to fix or a task to be managed, but I was someone to cultivate. And I think that's a good picture of what we're not only called to do for each other, but we should also be watering our own flowers too. So now we're going to picture a garden because I love a good metaphor. So we're going to do a little garden audit because if it's like my garden, it has a couple different things in it. I have some eggplant growing, I have some herbs, I have some carrots, and these are growing and thriving, and I've been able to pick them and eat them, and I feel like an evolved human being. But if your metaphorical garden is like mine, maybe there are some areas that dried up a little bit, like my spinach, and I think it's because my husband ripped half of it out, but I'm not pointing any fingers. Or maybe there's areas of the garden, like my cucumbers and tomatoes, that even though they have so many leaves, I have yet to see a single cucumber or tomato, which can be very frustrating. So we're going to do a little garden audit. And if you are a more visual person, maybe you want to grab a piece of paper and something to write with so that you can kind of rate yourselves in each of these different areas. We're going to talk about 5 different areas of our personal garden. And if you're driving or you don't want to write, that's fine. This isn't school. You can just think about these. And the important thing is we're not harshly judging ourselves. We're just noticing what's going on. So, the first area of the garden is our bodies. Are we eating enough to fuel our bodies? Are we nourishing our bodies well? Because fueling yourself and nourishing yourself can be 2 very different things. Are we drinking enough water? Are we staying hydrated? Are we sleeping enough hours And are we sleeping well? Are we moving our body intentionally? This does not mean that we are training for a marathon. This could be dancing around the kitchen. It could be walking a couple laps around the house just to get your blood flowing. The next area is our mind. I want you to think about, what are you feeding your thoughts? Are we constantly scrolling? Are we learning something? Are we giving our brains room to rest? The next area of the garden is the spirit. If you are a person of faith, I'm going to look at it through a God lens, but you can look at it through any lens that makes sense to you. Am I spending time with God, or just thinking about how I should spend more time with God? Are we listening to God as much as we are talking? In the area of relationships, who are we pouring into? Who's pouring into us? Are we in relationships that fill our cup, or ones that maybe we would be better off without? Have we isolated ourselves? Have we convinced ourselves maybe that we are too busy or too tired to be in community with other people? And the final area is creativity. And this can look different for everybody. But when was the last time I made something or did something just for the sake of enjoying it? Again, we are not criticizing ourselves. We are just noticing things. Now take a look at your garden. Maybe you see some areas that are thriving, maybe some areas that need a little tending to. Let's think about the areas that need tending to for a moment. Let's ask ourselves, why do we neglect ourselves? Is it because we think it's selfish? Maybe we think we'll get to it later. Maybe we feel like everybody else just needs us more. Maybe we're waiting for life to calm down a little bit. The issue is, with all these things, the life that we want is not going to just magically arrive. We have to make the time to cultivate that life, even if it's just in small ways. For instance, it is 5:42. I should be well into making dinner right now, but I'm recording this podcast because this is something that fills my cup. And my husband will not die if we eat dinner a little bit later. So, maybe you have a variety of areas that could use a little love. We are not trying to change everything today because that is not sustainable. The really important thing with any area of life when we are trying to make improvements is to do things that are sustainable. If you have a garden and you pour a gallon of water on it, you cannot walk away for a week and expect that it's just going to be fine. Change happens when we are consistent. Consistency matters more than intensity every time. So we're going to pick one garden, not all 5, and we're going to do something that I'm going to call the tiny tending method. We are going to brainstorm some ideas of things that are actually feasible and realistic to do within the next 24 hours. So, if we're thinking about the body, can we fill our water bottle and put it next to our bed so that when we wake up tomorrow morning, we have a reminder to drink water? Maybe we decide we're going to drink that whole water bottle before we get out of bed to make sure we start the day hydrated. Maybe we plan out what we're going to eat for that meal that we always tend to skip. Maybe we are going to make a plan to go for a 10-minute walk. Maybe you're going to take your kids with you so that you can also teach them healthy habits and we can take care of ourselves together. In the area of your mind, maybe you want to make a promise that you're going to read 5 pages of that book that you have been trying to get through. Maybe you are going to silence your social media notifications for the day. Maybe you are going to find a podcast about a topic that you're interested in. For your spirit, maybe you are going to make the commitment to open the Bible app and read the verse of the day before you go on social media or check your email. I have listened to the Bible in a Year podcast, which I recommend, the Catechism in a Year podcast, which I also recommend. And now I am making my way through the Rosary in a Year podcast. I have fallen off the wagon in the last couple weeks, but that's something that I'm going to work on. In the area of relationships, maybe you're going to send somebody a text that you haven't talked to in a while just to see how they're doing. Maybe you're going to invite someone to meet up with you for lunch or to come over for a cup of coffee. And then the final area of creativity. Maybe you're going to plant some flowers outside. Maybe you are going to take up journaling or painting, or maybe you're going to go walk around a museum or go to the library, or maybe you're going to bake some bread. Notice how many of these things don't take more than 10 or 15 minutes. So even if you have a very busy life, there are pockets of time, I'm sure, throughout your day. If you're anything like me, if you find yourself wasting 2 minutes here, slacking 2 minutes over here, scrolling 2 minutes over here, little pockets of time that if you are a little bit more mindful of your time, you can carve out those extra 10 minutes for yourself. A lot of times, one small habit can make other ones easier. Some people refer to this as a keystone habit. So for instance, if I get more sleep, I am more likely to move my body. If I move my body, I'm more likely to make better food choices. If I make better food choices, maybe I will be less crabby and have more patience. If I have more patience, my relationship with my spouse or my kids may improve. So think about what could be a keystone habit for you. Maybe it's a better bedtime. Maybe it's more prayer. Maybe it's meal prepping. Maybe it's walking. But what could be one little thing that will make everything else just a little bit easier? I think sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking that growth comes from doing more things. But again, it's about those small, simple, consistent choices. So I want you to grab your phone right now, unless you're driving. Seriously. Open up your notes app or get out a piece of paper. And I want you to write, this week, I am tending to this area of my life. Fill in the blank. Is it your body? Is it your mind? Is it creativity? Is it relationships? What is it for you? Maybe it's something I didn't even talk about. And then ask yourself, what is one thing that I am going to do tomorrow that the future version of me will thank myself for? Not next week, tomorrow. And then plan it out. When and how are you going to do that small thing? It seems silly and a little ridiculous, but if you find yourself forgetting to eat, what is a pocket of time that you can set aside to make sure you get fed, especially if you have kids? If it's to move your body, when are you going to have time to do that? So for me, I like to exercise in the morning before I go to work. I know that is not realistic for everybody, but for me, in this season of my life, that is what works. Because I know that after I am done with kids all day, so many questions, so many decisions that I have to make. By the time I am done with that, I am significantly less motivated to exercise. But usually I feel so much better if I start my day with movement, because then it's something I can check off my list. I feel like I've accomplished something. I go to work with all of these endorphins bouncing around. And then I know I don't have to think about doing that when I get home. So decide, when is a pocket of time? Maybe it's when the baby naps. Put it on the calendar. If it's sending a text to your friends, set a reminder. If it's making breakfast, do you need groceries? Don't trust that you are just going to be motivated to do it just because you listened to me for a few minutes. Build some kind of plan that you can actually execute. Thank you so much for listening today. If I said anything that maybe helped you a little bit, I would love for you to subscribe to the podcast and send it to somebody who might benefit from it as well. This podcast is a conversation that we are creating together. So if there's something that you would like to share or talk about, you can now plant a seed of conversation using the link that is in the show notes. I really hope that this met you right where you are today, and I'm honored to be with you as we become the people we were created to be. Until next time.